happy healing with and becoming. Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of Healing and Becoming, where you guys already know what it is. We believe in lifting as we climb, turning our trials into treasures, living a life to inspire and not impress, opening up and allowing God to fully restore us, and loving as if we have never been hurt. We have a fun and insightful conversation that we are going to just chat about today. It's really going to be life. I don't know about you all, but life has been hard. Life has been heavy. There's been so many ups and downs. If you open up your phone, turn on any news station, there seems to be just all kind of negativity all around us. Today, I want to just bring some positivity into your life. For the next 30 minutes, I want you all to lean in. I want you to smile, and I want you to know that it's not all bad. We have the power to write the life of our dreams, not only for ourselves, but for our family. I think today's guests really are going to help us to grab those pens and begin to write the life that we desire. So without further ado, hey you guys, how are ya?
You're doing good, Tamika. And you said the word insightful. When I heard the word insightful, I said, wow, these two guests here, they've got a lot to talk about. And insight means a lot of mistakes. So if that's what you mean by insight, we're going to bring the pain today.
I love that. Gino, tell us a little bit more about you all.
Well, we got married in 1998. We've been married 27 years. We have 6 children, ages 26 to 11. We homeschool the kids. I should say my wife primarily homeschool the kids, but I like to take a little bit of credit. I got to take some of the credit. And we've been living in Florida for the last 7 years. We moved from New York, transplanted down here to Florida. And as you said in your intro, life has been up and it has been down, but there's a lot more ups than downs for us.
I love that. And your beautiful wife, tell us your name.
Thank you, Julia Barbaro. Yeah, my husband said a lot there. I'm gonna actually. It's funny because you're talking my side. I'm going to talk about you. My husband's a real estate entrepreneur, so it gave us the ability to move down to Florida and start a life here with all the kids. And yeah, it was difficult. Let me just tell you, but it was a challenge. And sometimes out of those difficult challenges comes the most beautiful things.
Yes. Do you all know that the Japanese word for crisis also means opportunity? So a lot of times when we face these big life shifts or crises, it also is an opportunity for us to grow, for us to heal, for us to develop into the people that we are meant to be. Entrepreneurship and family.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that
Yeah.
because my husband is a full-time entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur but still working a 9 to 5. So we have that stability. And there is, you talked about ups and downs. I think it should be downs and ups because there's a lot of downs in entrepreneurship and great ups. Let's talk a little bit about how have you guys been able to manage entrepreneurship and raising a family?
So before we discuss what our journey with entrepreneurship is, I think we should really define the word entrepreneurship
Oh,
because it
good.
can mean so many different things to so many different people. Tony Robbins said it best: an entrepreneur is somebody who makes enough money to pay for their mistakes. And that's what you're talking
Mm.
about with the down. And I've done plenty of that. And I think what you said, out of the crises, there's opportunities. I think an entrepreneur goes through many of those crises. And
Yeah.
those that don't have the wherewithal, those that don't have the mission, those that don't have the sole purpose, they're the ones who end up typically failing because it's a very difficult endeavor. I was fortunate to have my wife say to me, "Hey, you take care of it all. I trust you." But she gave me the reins and she said, "I believe in you." And I interpreted that to mean, well, I better put the pedal to the metal and I better learn what I'm doing, because if I'm going to be risking my family's fortunes and I'm going to be the provider, I need to take this seriously. So I think an
Mm.
entrepreneur is first and foremost somebody who's disciplined, somebody who's hardworking, somebody who's a visionary, somebody who works not just for money, because money is just the result. An entrepreneur is somebody who wants to create a tremendous amount of value. A person like Elon Musk comes to mind because everyone
Mhm.
says how much he's worth, but no one really sits down and says how much value that person has created for this
Mm.
planet and maybe for other planets. So let's all put that into its context of what an entrepreneur is. And then I think personally, mothers have one of the toughest jobs on the planet, and I can see motherhood as being an entrepreneurship venture. They're dishwashers, they're chefs, they're stay-at-home moms, they're doctors, they're chauffeurs, like they're
Therapist.
everything. Yes, hairdressers, everything,
Everything.
everything. So for me, I think we should all view ourselves as entrepreneurs, because my 26-year-old daughter came to us a few weeks ago, and now she's getting into film and she's getting into production. And she just said to my wife, she's like, I think I'm an entrepreneur. I don't think I can work for anybody. I like working for myself, but not only just working for yourself, but having that creator artist inside of her who lights her up, and not just working for a job or for a venture, but really working for a purpose and for a mission. I know I said a lot there, baby.
You
What you want
did.
to say?
It's all good.
Yeah,
No,
that was some good stuff.
yeah. No, I agree. And I think, like you said, the motherhood is, I think sometimes too, and I know you're going to agree with this, a lot of times as a mom, you don't realize the value and the impact you have,
Mm,
because we're stuck in the exhaustion and all of that stuff, with all the little guys, and you know what I mean? And there's probably years and years of decades of little people that you are like, what is the purpose of all this? It's just so overwhelming. And I think, and I'm sure you can agree, having older children is, you see the fruit of that later. And
mm.
sometimes we have to be patient and wait and see. And I promise everyone listening, if you have little guys at home, it is so worth it just to be patient, and to know that you just being home loving your children is, you're making an impact on the world in the future, because those little people are going to be in the world making a difference for other people. And I think we forget that part.
Baby, you just
Yeah.
wrapped it up real nicely, because, like you're saying with a business, the same thing.
Yeah.
When you're starting a
Right.
business, the
Mm.
first couple of years, you may have goose eggs. It may take you
Yeah.
5 years of pain
Lots
and
of mistakes,
suffering
right?
and losing tons of money.
It's the
It's
same.
the same
Many,
thing.
many
Yes,
mistakes.
there's many,
Yeah.
many different correlations
Yeah.
between raising a family and building a business. I see a lot of
Oh
correlations
man,
between the
Gino,
two.
do you know that you literally, I have goosebumps because this weekend, so my kids are older, my younger is 13, and we watched my cousin's little ones, and they're 5, 4, and 2. So they're like babies, right? And my older son, that's 24, he's like, Mom, you still got it. And I said, because there's some things that you just don't like lose. And and as I was like bathing the babies and sending one down and lotioning one and doing all of these things that just come innate, I started to think about my business and how it really is like there is like this correlation to raising a family and babies, because you don't see, as you said, Julia, the fruit of raising those babies. And what I've learned to do is I've detached from the outcome. And that's so hard. I'm sure you can attest, because we need the outcome, we need the income, we need the money. But as I am serving, I've detached from the outcome in hopes that God, which I believe God is going to bless me for everything that I'm putting, every seed that I'm putting in the ground with my kids and with my business. The law says that the law of attraction, the law of awareness, the law of reaping and sowing, whatever law you want to use, tells us that when we put seed in the ground, we will reap a harvest. So when it comes to my kids, I am super blessed, and I'm sure you all are. I have a son that's a sergeant in the military. When he was little, this kid was doing everything but being a sergeant in the military. So I didn't know how he was going to turn out. But with that consistency and that persistency, it turned out to be great. And the same with my business. I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor. How have you guys been able to, because marriage and raising kids and running business really takes a true partnership. And I see a lot of women that I work with, they have this desire, but they don't have the support. How have you all been able to support one another with being a mama and being a business owner?
So we have many faults. I can attest to many faults, but I think my superpower is that when I commit to something,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. If I'm
Mm.
going to get on this call at 6 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to happen one way or
Mhm.
another. I may come here with one less finger. I may come here with hair that's disheveled, but I'm making it. That's just the reality. And my children are so baffled by the outside world, where their people have no accountability. There's no
Mm.
responsibility. You need to have that in your family. You need to have, everyone needs to be held accountable. You need to have what we call in our business a cadence of accountability. There needs to be
Yeah.
rhythms in the business, daily huddles, end of day reports, weekly calls, quarterly priorities. That looks different in the family. But at the same time, when we're off this podcast, I'm hoping and praying somebody's cooking dinner tonight. I just hope. I'm hoping that happens. And usually it does happen because the rhythm is there. The cadence is there. We go to our farm every day. The cadence is there. The responsibility and the accountability are there. We've built that into our relationship and our family and our business. And I think our kids have noticed that because now they're in the real world and they're out there working with other people and they've got massage licenses. And dad, this person just canceled on me 2 hours before. And it's just a routine. And they see that. And that does not align with their values and with the values that we've built within our family.
No, I love what you said. And I want to add in there a little bit of conversation. And I know we talk about have conversations with your spouse and it's important to have the right conversations with your spouse. And I think that's, as we said, we've, oh my gosh, we've made so many mistakes. And I think one of the big mistakes I made early on was not having the right conversations with my husband. There were years and years, you want to be the super mom. You want to seem like you have it all together and people are trying to help you. You're like, no, I got it. And he would come home from work and like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm great. I'm doing great. And so looking back, I'm like, wow, I should have been more honest and being like, you know what, I actually need help. Like I actually need your support more. And I think that's one of the things that the honesty in the conversation that we maybe work on all the time because
Yeah, but baby, what about also the conversation where I could have been a better listener or you could have been a better? These conversations are not, it's not people talking, but people actually listening to what you're saying and having empathy.
So it takes practice and it takes maturity.
Oh,
We
good.
were younger. I was 23 when we got married. You were 28, which we're probably the same amount of mature at this time. But
I don't know about that, babe.
back on our relationship, and I'm sure you would agree with this. You have to learn certain things. We weren't taught. You're not really taught how to listen to a person. You don't unless your parents are really good about explaining the concept of listening to a person, and and speaking your mind and making sure the other person's understanding where you're coming from. You don't learn it. Sometimes you learn it the hard way by your spouse getting irritated over and over again, like they don't understand what you're saying. Oh, I told you. Oh no, but I didn't understand you. Like like this back and forth for years and years. And sometimes it really just takes messing up so many times to be like, oh, I really want to learn now.
I agree 100%. And Julia, we're going to act like Gino's not in the room for just a second.
Not hard to
And
do.
And just girl to girl,
Yeah.
I know that there were plenty of times where I went to my husband and it was just not the right time because as women, we need it figured out and done.
Yep.
And he's in his metaphorical man cave because he's trying to figure out work and bills and all of those things. And I've had to learn to ask my husband, is this a good time for us to have this conversation? And then be patient when he's not ready to have the conversation and give him grace, right? Wouldn't you
100%.
agree? Because
I so agree with you. And I'm glad you brought it up because I think too many times I think obviously women and men are very, very different in the way that they think, the way that they could actually have a conversation while doing, like we could fill the laundry and have like an in-depth conversation with one of our teens about something important. You know what I mean? And some women can't. I'm going to put that out there, but a lot of times guys have to be in the right headspace to have that conversation. And I think sometimes we don't understand that that's real.
yeah.
And so I love that you said that is to ask, is this a good time? And if he says no, I'm in the middle of something, to graciously say, okay, we'll have to wait on that then. Because I know a lot of times we're so trying to do so many things at the same time. I've come to realize that we can't really multitask that well. I know we want to say that we can, but we really don't. We could do a lot of things at the same time, but not really well at the same time. How's that?
That's good.
Okay.
No, that
Okay.
was good. That
Yes,
was really
because
good.
we're not focused. I mean, my whole thing is if you can spend 10 minutes per child per day, 10 minutes completely focused on them, which is really hard because 10 minutes is a long time when you're just focusing on the person and not doing something else. They feel really heard and seen and loved and all
Yeah.
that. But it takes a lot of
Effort.
because
Effort.
we
Yeah.
can do other things at the same time, but they know we're not there. And same with our spouse. We actually have to take that time for them too. And yes, we can do a lot of things at the same time, but it's different.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
That's good. Going back to communication just a little bit, one of the hacks that I've done is with having so many kids, I try to, ask one of them to go to the store. And although I'm driving, at least it's just one of them with me where I can have that, they can tell me about their day or whatever. And then the other thing that I've done is, or we've done, is we incorporate family meetings. So, you talked about like huddles and at the end of the day, and we do end of month reports and stuff like that for our business. But I think also doing that with our kids and asking them like, how am I doing, and doing like a SWOT analysis for your family. I think that would really benefit a lot of families if they did that. How do you folks feel about that?
SWOT is not SNOT. It's strengths, weaknesses,
Yeah.
opportunities,
Yeah.
and threats. That's excellent.
Yes.
I like that.
Very good. And that's what we're doing. We
Yeah.
actually have a family meeting tomorrow with a marketer. And actually, the 11-year-old wants to be on, our youngest wants to be on. And I want her to experience that. I want her to experience the ability to speak to an adult and to see how a meeting is actually
Yeah.
handled and how it goes. I have monthly meetings with all of my children and the bookkeeper. My children know my accountant really well. They know our estate plan really well. They've
Wow.
walked on all of our properties, so they're inundated within the business because I talk about legacy a lot. I wrote a book called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. And it's great that I've made millions of dollars and it's great that I'm able to pass it along. But I want them to become financial stewards of it. And I want them to also pass along and carry along the values that we've created within our household. And for me to be able to do that and not just to drop it on them one day, they need to be really inundated within the family. And what you do is exactly what we do. We have meetings, we have meals every day. We're
That's
all
what I wanted to
together.
put out. I love how you go business. You go business mode on the kids. But I'm all about like we eat together at least once a day,
Yeah.
maybe twice. And I think that that alone is something
Mhm.
that needs to come back because I think we are so busy to the point where we're neglecting our family.
Mm.
We're in every sport, we're in every activity because we think the kids need to experience everything. Everything we didn't have. It's
Mhm.
usually the case, right? But I promise you when I say this, and I'm gonna put something else after this. I promise that's what they desire the most is family time. And
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna remember the most. And that's what they're gonna take onto their families is, hey,
Mhm.
I used to sit with my whole entire family every night and eat a meal. We cook together, we clean together, the whole thing. Because that's ultimately what we desire is
Mhm.
community.
Is
Mm.
connection,
It's
baby, too.
connection and
Yes.
community. And so the funny thing that you said before, which made me laugh, was as I started life coaching and talking to people, I was like, wow, I'm going to ask my kids. I said to my kids, I'm like, as they're older, they're all teenagers and up to their 20s. And I said, tell me how I messed you up. I want to actually talk about this.
Ooh.
And they all sat. I'm like, I actually give you full permission to be open and honest. And we had
Mhm.
some really amazing conversations. We had some apologies happening on my side. There was a lot of things that when you actually hear your kids their perspective of things instead of telling them what to do and telling them, clean your room and it's all order. Ask them a question and let them answer. Give them permission to answer. And
Yeah.
it's so amazing how your relationship changes. How can I be a better mom?
What can I do better?
Oh,
Yes.
that's a good
Better.
one.
Oh,
It hurts
that.
a little him. I feel like it hurts you. I actually am excited by it because I know I mess up. I mean,
Mhm.
we all know we mess up, but sometimes it's harder for other people. But be so thankful that they can be honest and you can work to be a better parent, a better person to your
Mhm.
children they're going to be there forever and be in their life. That actually is probably something that's changed our relationship as spouses, but as parents too.
Some of my greatest lessons have been from my kids, right? With them
Yes.
just being authentic and vulnerable and transparent. And that's what I really love about you all. I love that you guys even share money. I grew up, you guys probably grew up in the era where our parents didn't talk about finances or money. I didn't know anything about bills or
Yeah.
what the family was bringing in, and my kids they know a lot of what goes on. Whose decision was that, and how do you guys make it age appropriate, or is there even an age appropriateness? How do you guys mesh family and business like that way?
Well, early on, I pushed it too soon on the
Mm,
children because I
Mm.
felt the pressure
mhm,
that I didn't want them to grow up with a lack of financial intelligence. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad 30 years ago. So I was inundated with assets and balance sheets and personal financial statements and the richest man in Babylon. And I've been inundated with all that. And what I noticed was as they hit a certain age, as long as they were listening to me, I had my son when he was 15 started investing with me in real estate.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
I put his money into our deals. So that was one way for me to do it because then all of a sudden when you've got skin in the game, the conversations are different. All of a sudden
Mhm.
he has his capital at risk. And dad, why didn't we get paid this month? And dad, when are we refinancing the property? And dad, where are the owner draws? Your language becomes your experience. That's why you want your children to be able to experience and to witness that. But I would say around 16, 17 years old is where things get really interesting. They start getting a job. All of a sudden, a W-4 and a W-2 comes out, and all of a sudden they hear this tax. You mean I didn't make $100? I only made 82. Where did the rest of that go? Right? And then I need to open up a checking account.
Yeah.
Dad, what's an LLC? And dad, what's a business plan? Oh, and do I need to get a credit card? These things are age appropriate around 16, 17 years of age. And you start just giving it to them. And the beautiful thing right now, there's Chat GPT where you can
Mhm.
go on and have just what I'm doing with my teenagers. I'm structuring a lesson plan every week based on personal finance. And it's giving me guidelines on budgeting,
Mm.
T12s, cash flow statements, credit. I'm doing a bank lesson tomorrow, and it's just 30 to 45 minutes. I open up my laptop and I go through what we have and I show them exactly. And then I keep it open ended. What questions do you want? And then I'll pull out one of their pay stubs and let them look at it. And then we'll analyze that as well. I
Mm.
think if you just keep it open and honest and be transparent with your expenses, I think that's really
Y-
served us
you
well.
and also on the other side of it, the simple side of it,
Mhm.
I want to add is that bring them to the grocery store. Bring 'em to the
Oh.
grocery store. Let them see the prices. Back in the day, again, this is,
Back in the day.
when we used to use cash, right? We didn't have the credit cards, and so you had whatever you had in your wallet. So you had to add up all the stuff in the cart, and you had to make sure you had enough money. We sometimes we do that. Sometimes
Yeah.
we do that because it's good for the kids to see, hey, you just can't get everything. Credit
Yep.
cards, yeah, they're out there and all that, but it's important to budget what you're getting. And so how do you do that with small children? Is you
Mhm.
add everything up in the cart and then you watch them or maybe have them pay at the end of the day and you say, "Oh wow, that's how much the groceries were for dinner."
Yep.
Or even if you go out to dinner, let them see the check, watch how do you get the tips. And so it's constant. If we want to put that money education in is constantly happening. Even
Mm.
subscriptions, how much they cost, and just keep them in the loop because like you said, we actually my husband and I are money coaches. So we talk to people
Mm.
about their relationship with money. And, coming from my mom was a single mom, there's three of us. It was really difficult for her. She worked a
Yeah.
lot. Money was a negative, very, very negative. The conversation was always, we don't have enough right now. And it never happens. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
and then he came from an immigrant family. So it was very different when we got together. We had a lot of money issues because
Mm.
we had both two different backgrounds on what our beliefs were about money.
Mm.
And just until recently, we discovered through money coaching is how emotional money is and how it actually
Yeah.
can affect your whole family.
100%. Most people buy and purchase things off of emotions. And
Exactly.
I love what you said, Julia. I gamify shopping all the time. I tell the kids, here's 20 bucks. Let's see who's going to get the
Love
most for
that.
this money. And
Children.
the other thing that I love that you guys talked about, or I would add, is giving. I've taught my
Mhm.
kids how, when they have that $100, Gino, here's what you need to give, here's what
Yep.
you need to save, because I want to teach them again about seed going into the ground. And when you give to others, it's always going to come back to you. Like that's just, some good teaching to teach our
Yeah.
kids. I
Mhm.
love that you all are money coaches. There are so many conversations that I want to have with you guys, and I am definitely getting your information because I'm hearing all this stuff. And me and my husband's a real estate developer,
Mhm.
so I feel like we got to have some
Wow.
deeper conversations.
That's a tough business. It's either
Yes,
boom or bust. You're either making
yes.
mills or you're struggling. And right now, it's not easy right now as a developer. So
It's tough.
it's the same thing with us. I know the feeling. And one of those things is that's just a pattern or
Mhm.
behavior that he's developed over time, and you start adopting behaviors and beliefs towards that. And maybe at one point your husband can step back and say, "I love this developing, but is there another niche of real estate that maybe I can look at?" Maybe he's never
Yeah.
even thought of that because that has never entered his realm because I was the pizza guy. I could never have thought of getting into real estate until I was pushed, until I shattered that limiting belief and said, well, if this person can do it, it's not rocket science. let me take a look. So a lot of those behaviors and beliefs he's probably adopted from childhood and from early adolescence, and it's become part of his values. And listen, it's a great business. You're building
Mhm.
housing. I mean, how amazing is that? We need that in this country. But at the same time, there are ups and downs. There's cyclicalities to the market.
Oh yeah, we just recently. That's interesting that you shared that because we just recently started getting interested into REITs. Where
Yes.
the yeah, so we're diversifying, and he's a little bit more. His family comes from a construction background, so that's
Mhm.
all he knows. And I'm like, babe, we got to use our heads and not our hands. And so I'm trying to pull him into coaching, Julia. So we need to talk too. We need to talk because I'm like, I have been in this coaching space for 10 years, and it
Yeah.
is amazing what I'm
Mhm.
able to do, and the reward that you get
Mm.
from just seeing people transform. I want to hear more about your business and about your book and how folks, the TWT family, can get in contact with you.
Well, Julia wants me to share with it because I wrote the book, but it's more of like a family book. It was really it was able to launch our family company, Barbaro 360. I used to teach people how to buy real estate. I
Mm,
got burned out from that because it was just about numbers, cap rates, cash on cash returns. And to your point, sometimes people they take the information and they don't take action on it. And I was getting so frustrated by that. Why can this person who has no ability yet close a deal? And then there's a person here who's got so much talent. He has the capital, and yet he or she's not closing the deal. And it came down to what we found that was their relationship with money. And that's why we wrote
mm,
Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. And we created Barbaro 360. It's our family company where we want to change the world one family at a time
I
and
love that.
focusing on that one family. And it's really the family that needs to resonate and wants to change. See, we wanted to change.
Mhm.
We saw
Mhm,
how frustrated we were. We had bad communication with money. Even though I was making money, it wasn't making me happier. I thought the more
mm,
money I made and the more deals I closed, it would make me happier. And that was not the case at all for us. So when I realized, wow, what's happy money? Happy money is doing something you like, something where you're energized, something where you're
mm,
aligning with your soul purpose. And then money comes and it's just the result. I learned
mhm.
one other thing that money doesn't corrupt the person, it reveals a person. So if
Ooh.
you're worried out there, you're out there and you're saying, well, no, I'm not really sure about people who are rich. It's not going to corrupt you if you're a really good person and if you have great intentions with that money.
Mm,
So money is not the problem. I think it's just a symptom, the underlying symptom that nobody really wants to talk about. And that's why we're working hard at launching the book, creating the company, because we want to share this message with other families who may have put money on the back burner and they don't think it's that important, but yet at the end of every day, it's touched so many parts of our lives and so many facets of our lives throughout the day that it is an important facet of our lives.
mhm.
And you can reach us at barbaro360.com.
Yeah, I forgot all about
Awesome. Yeah.
that.
That's why I'm
No
here.
words. You were getting
Yeah,
passionate.
baby.
Yep, that's that partnership. I love
Mhm.
it. You were getting passionate, and I love to see that. All of their information will be in the show notes for you all to be able to contact them, to get in contact with them. Thank you all so much for spending this Tuesday with the TWT family. Money answers all things, and we need to have good relationships with money. Thank you guys for
Mhm.
the work that you're doing. Thank you for raising amazing human beings. I know that I'm not in this fight alone.
Right.
Yes.
And I
Thank you,
just
Tamika.
absolutely, I wish everyone that is listening, please share this podcast with at least three of your friends. Right now, money, it seems to be like one of those taboo things. There's so many people that are afraid about what's going on. But when you make the money and don't make the money make you, you're
Mhm.
able to be successful in this world. Make sure that you go over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, rate this podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe and like and share this with three people. Until next week, remember to lift as you climb, live a life to inspire and not impress, open up and allow God to fully restore you, and love even your money as if you've never been hurt. Bye bye.